Bye.
Hello, Jody Raynsford. Hello, Dude-Banners. Welcome to Bad Boy Running.
Hello,
Welcome
David.
back.
Hellard. I've missed you, man. I've missed you.
I've missed you too. How's your holiday been?
It was really, really nice. It was a bit hot. We weren't in any of those wildfires that you saw from France or anything else like that. But yeah, it was a really interesting holiday in the sense that we did lots of things that we thought the kids would like, but actually the things that they like. The things that they remember are very different from the things that we thought that they would remember. Does that make sense?
Oh, so do you think the things they're going to talk about from the holiday in the future won't necessarily be what you intended as the highlights?
Yeah. So listener, I mean, I don't know, you're interested in my holiday plans and everything, but this is what we did, and hopefully it'll give you some indication of the. So we decided to go to France. We decided Frida's really into horses, so first we went to a chateau that was featured in the film Live and Let Die, because this is like really eagle-eyed stuff, because the Duke that owned it thought he was going to be reincarnated as a horse. And so he turned these palaces and the stables into this most palatial thing. The stables are more palatial than the palace. So it's like, so we thought, oh, well, let's go.
And was he?
What? We don't know. Was
one of the horses looking quite dukey?
Oh, the horses were looking. There's a lot of Welsh horses there. There were a lot of Welsh ponies and Welsh horses there. So I don't know. I don't know if they have, but it's certainly quite. So that was good. So we did that for Frida. Then we went to Disneyland, which I thought would be the highlight of their holiday.
Yeah.
But the thing is about Disneyland Paris is that you have that Disney magic, but you're still in France. So there's still that edge to it. There's still,
Oh, so there's still strikes, is that what you're saying? There's still... None of it's open.
Well, actually, a lot of it wasn't open. It was quite interesting. It was so busy. I thought we were going to go on a day when it won't be busy, and it was just incredibly busy. And then we kind of drove to like Versailles, and we were camping from then on. And we went into Paris to do some sightseeing and stuff, and the kids were not interested at all. It was really hot. We thought we'd do an open-top bus tour, because we thought that way we can just sit and it'll breeze past and stuff like that. They ended up just reading. They ended up I've got pictures of them reading on this open-top bus tour.
That's good, isn't it? Reading's good, surely?
It is good, but you're just going, I've just spent like £100 on this bloody expensive bus tour. Not even bothering to look up for... I mean, like, we queued up to go on the Eiffel Tower, and because the queue was, half an hour or something like that, they were moaning and whining, and, like, Libby's kind of on my side, and then after, like, 10 minutes, she breaks, and then all of a sudden it's 3 against 1. And it's like, oh, annoying dad trying to make us go and do something we don't want to do. What do we want to go at? It's like boring tower type thing.
Are you Chevy Chase?
I am Chevy Chase. It is exactly like that. Hey guys, I made them all put on beret. I didn't make them all put on berets. When we went to Disneyland, I said, oh, you've got to get the ears. You've got to get the ears, kids. And they're like, oh yeah, all right then. So I get them the ears. It's like 40 fucking euros for 2 ears. I'm like, it's like 40 quid's worth of just those stupid bloody ears. I'm like, I'm sure they weren't that expensive in the past. It's just throwing money away. And then, so we went, on the way.
Were the ears worth it? I mean, you should be wearing the ears now, surely, to get your money's worth.
I've just cleaned out the car. We got back, because we came on the ferry and everything was delayed and stuff like that. We got back about 4 in the morning. And I've been to clean out the car today and everything. Those ears on the floor, dust, all been trodden on, dust on them and everything. Never going to get worn again. They'll be...
But you can win a pair of these ears today, Harry. All you need to do is send a stamped addressed envelope.
The interesting thing was, we went... Oh, can you hear him? Oh, it's gone all funny. Interesting thing was, Hugo's really into football. So, of course, when we're in Paris, we go to the Parc des Princes, where PSG play. And we do this stadium tour. And... I don't know if you've ever done a stadium tour or things like that before, but normally you think, all right, you're going to go somewhere, you're going to see the history of the place, you're going to see the history of the team, you're going to focus on the players and stuff like that. It was basically, I paid 80 quid to basically go on a sales tour where I've never walked through like the hospitality before and the corporate suites, and it telling us how much is invested in the corporate suites and how much they cost and all the. I was thinking, what the fuck have I paid for here? I mean, it's quite. There's something quite brilliant about it. And they're really open about it as well. They're like, oh yeah, like this area used to all be offices, but we stripped those out and everyone has to go and work in a shitty old building somewhere. And now selling these offices to McDonald's and Microsoft and all that and everything now make up 50% of the income that the club bring in and stuff like that. You're like, what? You're being very open and honest about all this. And so we do all that. We do all that. We don't go near the pitch and everything like that. But you're just like, I've just paid to go on a sales tour. It was quite brilliant. And then I got stiffed for a bloody Hugo wanted a PSG top, which was like another 80 quid. Like he's 6. How is this 80 quid for a top?
Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
Is he a big kid? Is that what you're saying? Did he have to have a full-size adult shirt?
No, well, I bloody wish he did. They were like, oh yeah, it needs to be quite snug on him. No, it doesn't. Make it baggy as fuck so he can wear it for the next 10 years. I don't want him ever growing out of that thing. Yeah. Like, let's stop feeding him. And then after that, we went down to Ile de Ré. Have you ever heard of Ile de Ré? It's like
heard of El Dorado.
No, it's not like that. It's a little island, kind of off La Rochelle on the Atlantic coast. And Libby didn't explain this to me, but it's kind of it's all beachy. It's like a it's kind of like a Martha's Vineyard vibe to it. And everything. It's really nice, but it's all about the bikes there. It's got like hundreds of kilometers of everyone is cycling. I've never seen that many bikes in one place since I've been to like Vietnam or somewhere like that. It is insane. Like the bikes win. So she basically books us this place to plonk right in the middle of cycling centre in France. Perfect. Thank you for that, Libby. And I did actually go on my bike as well because we took it with us, and so I did that and everything. So
and you loved it.
I did. Do you know what? I did something very, very unusual this holiday. Like when you go on holiday. And you take your running stuff with you, and you think, yeah, it's going to be great. I'm going to run every day. It's going to be amazing. And then the reality of it comes in, like, you don't get up to like 11 o'clock, and you're like, oh God, I can't be arsed now. It's a bit hot, and all this other stuff. This was the first time I didn't take any like running stuff with me. And one morning, I woke up with a yearning to go for a run, so I cycled to the nearest decathlon, which was supposed to be 14 minutes away by Google standards, but for some reason Google took me through the sandiest possible route that you could possibly, which I don't know whether it's I'm a shit cyclist or whether sand just is a difficult thing to cycle through.
I think we know the answer to that.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was cycling through, so I was like, I can't cycle. Am I just shit, or is this just what sand is like to cycle through? And I went to Decathlon and I bought a running kit there basically, and I came back and then I went for a run, which is very, very unlike me. But you do realise, firstly, that Decathlon is quite cheap, but also what's extra large in France is not extra large in the UK.
Oh, as in bigger or smaller?
It's much smaller. Much smaller.
Yeah, okay.
I was like, wow, this kind of tight fit look must look great. I'll go out really early so no one can see me.
Give it to Hugo. Give it to Hugo instead.
Exactly. Well, I think it's tight fit on him. Yeah, that was my holiday. That was it. Just France being French, everyone being.
Sounds like a success.
Well, it was a success. It was really hot. I don't think it was as hot as in the UK though. I think you had like that 40-degree. We had a 40-degree day, but I think you were having several 40-degree days. And every time I looked at the internet, it was
the way the news was reporting it. If you stepped outside your house, you would probably die instantly.
Really?
Like they were just saying like just be careful. I mean, I'm sure it was pretty hot for some people. I didn't really notice how hot it was. It was hot at night, but I just had extra ice cream. So result. But
so what have you been up to? What have you been up to?
Well, I'm injured again. So
what? How?
Just the injury coming back, the old injury.
Oh, and it's the same one. Okay.
Yeah. So I've been to see the doctor, and they haven't given me any reassurance because they're like, yeah, just do your exercises through it. Keep on running, do your exercises through it. I'm like, but I can feel that that's not the right thing to do. Like, no, just keep on doing that. Like, so I guess I'm going to do what they say, and I assume it's going to get worse, but we'll see. But yeah, not much really. So but so much has been happening while you've been away. So much has been happening, especially in terms of, well, firstly, before we go into the stories, the documentaries, the TV, there are 4 different people I know who've been on TV, including Mr. Mo Farah. But I wanted to say, recording with John Alban, he was giving us a discount for his app, Alban.app. And we tried to use the code FYB, couldn't use it because it's too short. We tried to use the code Queen Bean and Bean Queen. It wouldn't let us use it for some reason.
Wow, there's an in-joke. If you have...
Because Apple apparently has filters for things like this.
Really?
So Bean Queen wasn't allowed. So Pato Banton is the code. So if people want to use his app, and it's brilliant.
Pato Banton seems to be a universal code for most things. It seems to be the one that most of these things accept. There are people, there are do-badders that literally any e-commerce site they go on, they type in Pato Banton as a discount just to check.
Yeah, especially the UB40 site that you get 40% discount. But so you may not have noticed Dave Cornthwaite, who previously on the podcast, Mr. Yes Tribe, lovely man, he was on Channel 5 television show with Ben Fogle. Really, really interesting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I love Ben Fogle, and I love his show. It was kind of escape. Yeah, because Ben Fogle's done a lot of series where he'll go and I think it's like New Life in the Wild or similar, where people
I hate that. Libby loves it. I absolutely hate it.
Do you hate it? I love it.
Oh, I hate it. Oh,
why do you hate it?
I just it's bullshit. That's why. It's just I don't fucking believe it. Oh, do you know?
Okay.
Do you remember where Ben Fogle came from? Do you remember like the series?
Castaway, wasn't it? Yeah.
That thing where on that island where
Castaway.
Say, wasn't it? Where he had to find love, didn't he? And he didn't. He was just like on his own. Like
Well, you were there for it. It was the first proper kind of reality TV show where you were cast away for a year in a community that had to survive for the year. I thought it was quite good. But if you when you watch a friend on TV, it's always more entertaining and more fun.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's just great. Except when it's a show where everything is falling apart in these people's lives. Oh God, it's really bad. I know Dave a little bit, but we're not great friends or anything.
Yeah.
Partly because he's left London a long time ago and has set up a campsite in, I think it was Lincolnshire or Suffolk it just everything goes to shit. It's a class, and it wasn't the editing. It was just Dave's gone to try and start this really cool campsite, and they can't get the planning permission. Everything goes wrong. COVID happens. So that's something for people to watch.
Oh, I'm gonna definitely watch that, because as I was on holiday, I was thinking about the economics of a campsite and the campsites we were staying in. I was thinking, God, this must be an absolute like money pit, but not money pit. It must be an absolute like money maker. Yeah, money spinner. To get this right, because even with like COVID and stuff, I don't think those restrictions will ever come back where you won't be able to if you might be able to do kind of social distancing type camping and things like that. But no, I'll watch that. That's really interesting, because I was thinking, what can go wrong with a campsite? I don't understand what, well, obviously anyone that, who runs it knows that, but yeah, that sounds interesting. What's that called?
It's called like Ben Fogle's Escape to the Wild, or Escape the City with New Lives in the Wild.
Because that's the thing. Most of them don't go to shit, and that's the thing. That's why I don't think they're like very. They go, oh yeah, we left London and we're here, and the kids are happy, and the kids are like dejected as fuck, and they're like, oh, the kids are so happy. You're like, you've ruined their their opportunity basically, because you just want to escape from the. Oh, we used to have a flat in London and it was like £200 billion, and now here we can own an entire estate, and look, we've got some chickens. You're like, oh, off. So yeah, I'll watch that. I'll watch that.
So it wasn't that, and I'm always jealous of the people who've done it, even though I wouldn't want to do it myself. But Stephanie Case, who we finally got the episode out with her because we had quite a few issues with Riverside, the recording software. She talked about in the episode that she'd filmed a documentary to do with her Tour de France, where she did a 450k non-stop race, over 40,000 meters of climbing, insane. And also talking about Free to Run. And the documentary was filmed from before the US pulled out of Afghanistan, all the way through. And it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I just watched it at lunchtime today. Steph has messaged me and just mentioned, she's like, it's out. And I cried a lot in it. And it's a running documentary where running isn't the core of it. It's not someone takes on something, they cry, they think they're not going to make it, they make it. It's not that. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's really sad, as you'd imagine, because of the situation. So it is called, in fact, I've got no idea what it's called. I've just watched it, but do better, go and watch it, because it's only half an hour, and she said they're gonna re-edit it for film festivals, but it is on YouTube, and it's called Free to Run with the North Face. So you got 30,000 views so far, but it is so good, and even just seeing her do the Tour de Glaciers is amazing. So yeah, go and watch it, guys. But while we were away, did you manage to watch? Oh, and we've got to mention World Championships, incredible medal, gold.
Oh yeah, Did you say I sent you the when the rest of the team, GB team, were watching it on the screen and everything? How excited they were when it happened.
Yeah, unbelievable. And what I liked about it is, in that race, the British runner came fifth. He was going in there saying, like, I'm here to win. All I want to do is win. I don't want second. I don't want third. Loved it. And then for Jake to come and actually back himself and win it, unexpected golds. Just his dad was commentating at the time in the stadium.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, incredible. To have you.
To give an idea of how unexpected it is, like what was he expected to place? Like, what did the other guy? Was the other guy a realistic shot at first, even though he was talking it up, or was?
Well,
this...
I mean, Ingebrigtsen is. I think Ingebrigtsen's one of those, because he's a brother of three. There's almost this cult of the Ingebrigtsens, Danish middle distance runner, and so he's super young. He's world champion, so he's Olympic champion. He's really good, but 1500, it's still quite a short race, and that's why middle distance running is so good, because you never really can be certain who's going to win unless you've got someone who's utterly dominant, because if there's a slow start, suddenly other runners can win it, or if someone goes out blitzing it, that changes who could win it again. And so he wasn't. I wouldn't say he was necessarily even expected to get a medal. He was unlikely to get a medal in people's expectations, but there was a possibility he could. And yeah, he held on. He waited. He conserved all of his energy. He never really pulled, because when we were talking to Chris Thompson, he was saying about how in one 800-meter race, a really unexpected person won, because he ran 801 meters and the person second ran 817 meters, just because they tactically be on the outside so much, on the outside of a bend, and he just sat on the inside the whole way and then backed himself, and no one really knew what to do, and Yeah, just
That makes that
incredible.
much of a difference.
It can do. Yeah, it really can.
Whoa, that's
Yeah,
mind blowing.
because you'll sometimes get people who are like three deep, or they'll come out and they'll sit on the outside of the second lane for a long, long time, and then they'll go. And was it that for maybe it's for 1,500 rather than 800? Is that difference? But yeah, but if you think if you think how much they stagger the starts for the 400, and you double that, that's the difference that lane can make.
Yeah.
But we got to talk about, right?
I see. The thing is, I've missed a lot of this. I only saw brief things, so you're going to have to sort of catch me up on this a little bit. But I know who you're talking about.
And we've got to mention Hardrock as well. Hardrock 100, incredible. Killian, Francois, neck and neck. But then actually, they weren't leading it. It was incredible. Dakota James, the unfancied American, was winning until about 2/3 of the way through, when Francois and Killian, still neck and neck, hammered it out to the last bit. Courtney broke the records, even though it was in the opposite direction to where the slower clockwise direction. So another amazing thing, but can't bother to talk about that. It's just got to be. So have you watched Mo?
No, I haven't watched it. All I've done is I've seen, because all I saw, I think it all came out when I was away, and there was just some stuff on BBC News talking about how the police aren't going to investigate the human trafficking, or they're not going to investigate him or do anything about him, even though they might be looking at what happened.
Because I'm not sure how widely this documentary would have been seen outside of the UK. I know it is available in the US, but I don't know if worldwide everyone can see it. And often with documentaries like this, there's a story there, and because it's someone famous, they've managed to turn it into like a whole 1 hour documentary, and you think it should have been like 30 minutes. But this was unbelievable. It was a story where the story itself was incredible. And then you're like, but it's Mo Farah. It's properly Mo, and he was trafficked. He was taken by someone who wasn't his family, given a new name and made to work in their house, looking after the kids and cleaning the house. So I wouldn't go as far to say a slave, because I don't think that's probably not as too strong a term, but I could be wrong on that. He was still going to school, but it's amazing. It's just jaw-droppingly unbelievable that. And you realise how much running saved his life, because it wasn't until he was a really good runner, as we all know, but it was his relationship with his coach, because he was getting in trouble at school all the time, because he obviously had issues, massive issues. But it was the relationship with his coach, and he came out to his coach and told his coach that they then looked into it. But he's been almost trapped by this identity where his ability to travel, his visas, his passport is all on Mo Farah, even though that's not his name.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, we know a lot of his story, but it's not true, a lot of it. So there are elements, they show things like a Jonathan Ross interview, which I'd have watched, where he's talking about moving over with his dad, which isn't true. His dad was killed in the Somalia conflict. And there's all these other things where Mo's just had to lie through his whole life. And
that's why it's come out now. So he was waiting till the end of his running career, essentially, because he knew that he didn't want to jeopardize the fact that he had to fabricate all of his entire past because of the way that he was brought to the UK.
Yeah, and technically he's an illegal immigrant. He could be deported because he's misrepresented his
It's
situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, isn't it? How it's like to no fault of his own, but the amount of concessions he's had to make, like
Mm.
like his name, like Mo, so it doesn't sound like too Islamic, or not talking about like religion, or talking, even though I think in a lot of documentaries later on it talked about how important his religion was to him, but it was something that it never came up thing. And then this, like the idea that I mean, he wouldn't have had a chance, like
Mm.
if this had come out earlier, before he established himself, because there would have been the hostile environment in which that is viewed, would have prevented him from doing that. So
Would have been such a distraction as well. It would have been, yeah.
Again, I'm really ignorant of this because I wasn't able to watch it. But did his wife, did she not know as well? Because I got the impression from reading something that this was something that she wasn't aware of.
She don't actually remember now. I think she did know, but she didn't for a while,
Right.
because they went to school together. And but it's amazing how it's just the tale of a child, really, where he's someone who he always comes across as very kind of kind-natured and quite jovial, but clearly has always had this absolute fury within him that was directed towards running. And you do wonder whether he could have ever been as good if this scenario hadn't happened. Not just the fact that he was in Britain and got funding, but if he hadn't had that anger within him, whether he would have been as driven, whether he would have been as focused. And
so that's the thing that came out. He has he's really angry about the whole thing. Is he? I mean, that's the
when he was a teenager, he was, which is what was getting him into trouble, and that's how he just put everything into his running. And it's a great documentary about his running anyway, without this story and the whole thing together. You just got to admire the man for, we always take the mick out of him because of probably being a micro-doper. But he, in many ways, he's quite a simple person who's been through a horrific situation and come out smiling.
yeah.
Just so, if you haven't watched it, watch it. If you're not in the UK or the US, I don't know how easy it is to get it, but do whatever you can to watch it because it's just incredible.
I wonder if it's going to be one of those things, but because it isn't until someone famous that lots of people love tells a story about something that maybe as a society or the way it's perceived hasn't been thought of in a certain way. And the way things like trafficking, and because trafficking and refugees escaping to this country, it's seen it's framed in such a negative way societally generally, and people, they aren't seen as victims most of the time, are they? Especially with the media and especially the way that government frames it. And I'm surprised that the current Tory leadership hasn't kind of election hasn't talked about anything like that. But to have someone who's that famous, who has been a success stage, who is very well respected, who is a certain all that, and then telling that story, like what is going to be the impact on how that will be perceived in the future? It's one of those things. It's obviously important that he told that, but I wonder how much of an impact it will have in terms of changing people's perceptions of who are the victims in this situation.
Yeah, and same for someone like Dominic in Switzerland. When he's an incredible runner, they're trying to get him to run. If he then say he does become a citizen and wins medals for Switzerland, will that change their views as well?
I mean, you shouldn't have to. I mean, that's the thing. You shouldn't have to fucking win medals and all that kind of stuff. That's the thing, isn't it? He can do this because he has been successful.
Mm.
But for every Mo, there must be, I don't know, like, what is the scale of it? Like, I'm sure that there are official figures, but the scale of it must be multiple
I think
times.
they were saying about 100,000. I can't remember if that was per year or. The trouble is, a lot of it is hidden within the community that it happens within, because they're taking people who often speak different languages and who are from a quite close-knit community. They don't take people who are fluent English people and traffic them somewhere else in England. So it's very hard to actually to assess. But did you see? It starts happening to a lot of people we've been talking about recently. Chris Thompson as well.
No.
Absolutely brutal. So I don't think the episode's out yet, or it's only just come out. And we're talking to him about his running career in general, but he was really focusing on the World Championships, the World Marathon Championships. Couldn't go because World Athletics messed up his visa. And so his whole year has essentially kind of led up to nothing.
What? How? Why?
I think there was a. That's
happened quite a lot, isn't it? That's happened quite a lot in terms of travelling sports people. I'm sure I've seen like several things, people not being able to get into the US or various places because of visa issues.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you'd think, given the profile of something like World Athletics happening in the US, that they just green light, like just fast track. But he said there was back and forth with World Athletics on which visa to apply to. Applied for one type, changed their minds, went for another. And then it just, the panic button wasn't kind of pressed quick enough. Seb Coe's apologised for it.
Well, that's no good.
Just lots of small errors and people being incompetent.
Well, that's athletics organisations for you, isn't it? Generally.
Yeah, but imagine how frustrated you'd be when, and you can't even do the Euro Championships because it's too late now. There's no room for the Euro Champs because he was focusing on this one, and your whole career is being determined by incompetence of administration. It's just nuts that the World Champs should be like that. So Tomo, mate, massive hug, and I've been messaging about it, but it's just quite hard to know what to say because it's just pretty devastating for him and just completely gutting. Yeah. So I'm trying to think, what's the good news we can go on to instead then?
Who do you want to be the new Prime Minister, David? Come on, that's gotta you must know half of the Tory cabinet and stuff, or gone to school with them, or something like that. I've got a feeling that you must have an opinion. You must have an opinion on this.
Of course, I mean we are a political podcast, but not with capital P, I wouldn't say. Although Boris's leaving speech. Boris's leaving speech.
Hasta la vista in a fucking leaving speech in the House of Commons.
He's convinced he's an innocent victim of this and he's returning. He's absolutely convinced. It's crazy.
I said to Libby, the reason that he's agreed to the timescale in which they're doing is because there's one of two things he thinks is going to happen. Already, one of those things has tried to happen, which is the Tory party members. Have said they want him on the ballot. And he's kind of thinking that. But he thinks he's Churchill. He thinks he's going to make some kind of comeback. And he knows whoever's going to get elected is going to lose against Starmer. And they're going to get Boris back in to make sure that they win the next election. I think he sees himself like that, doesn't he?
And what happened with Churchill? When Churchill lost his election, Clement Attlee came in and set up the NHS, one of the greatest things to happen to this nation. So,
absolutely. But the thing is, the biggest insight so far from this leadership election is that Rishi Sunak. If you listen to Rishi Sunak with your eyes closed, he sounds just like Will from The Inbetweeners.
Can't think which one Will is.
He's the main character. Like the real,
Oh, okay.
the real nerdy guy. He sounds
Proper
just
geeky one.
like it. It just sounds just like it, and you can't get that out of your head.
Well, that's something that might be haunting us for the next 2 or 3 years. Our Prime Minister trying to lose their virginity behind a bike shed.
That could.
But I made a few notes from, and yeah, also some other things amazing. Some are, the mountain, some are spine, record smashed. At the Golden Trail, the last Golden Trail, there are a few things that what I like is we get in discussions with athletes where we get insights into different contracts, different setups, really get to understand how some of the athletes have to operate.
Yeah.
But also some of the brands. So I was talking to Santo, and they were saying that their issue now is, so say your Caffeine Bullet, for example, we've got lots of ambassadors of different levels, partly because we can give out a packet and it doesn't cost us too much. But when you're a watch brand, if you want to give out a watch, that costs you a lot of money. And what I found quite interesting, and even since we've had this conversation, I've noticed the European Trail Championships has rebranded to the European Off-Road Championships. But he was saying the trouble is now there's so many champions of things that they don't know who's credible anymore. And so as a brand, unless you're just going for Instagram followers or kind of typical influencer, if you're actually trying to back good athletes, he was saying that because you've now got like trail running, you've got Golden Trail, you've got sky running, you've got off-road, you've got just all this plethora. You've got the local, the country champs, you've got the European champs, for all of those things that they just don't know anymore. Everyone contacts them as a champion, and there's so many champions in running that it's quite hard for a brand to get a sense of who actually is worth backing, which I thought was quite interesting. But also speaking to one of the athletes from Hoka.
Yeah. Hoka,
now,
you mean Hoka?
Yeah. You don't do the Hoka Koki, do you? You do the Hokey Koki. I mean, that doesn't explain it at all. But yeah. So Hoka, however you say it. Is it Hoka?
You told me it was Hoka One. So I've been correcting everyone.
True.
I've been correcting everyone since then. It's not Hoka. It's Hoka One.
Hoka One, it is. True, Hoka One.
There's nothing worse than pronouncing something in the language that it's supposed to be in when you've been saying it a different way the whole time. There's not like whenever you when you go to a cinema and there's a foreign film on. You never try and say it with the accent of the film. You still try and say it in a British accent, don't you?
But I think you should, because we don't go to Spain and you don't hear them going, fish and chips, mate. Like that, no one's dropping in like British, like Cockney accent for English phrases.
You do. I had a girlfriend who was Jordanian, and she would speak. I mean, she'd be like, this is going to be a really offensive stereotype here, but it would be like Cash Point, Alliance and Leicester.
But would she be doing it in like a Scouse accent or in a Cockney accent? Because that's the difference, right? Is that we're almost we're shamed into having to go Ibiza instead of Ibiza. Ibiza. Yeah, and because that's how the locals speak it. But are they doing that for bacon and eggs, mate?
I'd love it if they were. I imagine if you. Yeah, I imagine they are.
Okay. Well,
they'll be learning the Queen's English, though, won't they? Bacon and eggs.
They will. They'll be learning Harry's English. But
I just apologise to all of our Arabic listeners there for that. That was a really offensive impression because, but that's how I made my point. So that's it. It was fine.
Was it? I don't think you get to judge if it was fine. I think that's for the internet to judge. But
it's absolutely okay.
For Hoka One, because they now sponsor UTMB, to align the strategies of their marketing, if you are an athlete with them, no matter what distance you run, your bonuses are based off UTMB events. If you're someone who, for example, if you won a Golden Trail race, if you won the Golden Trail, and I'd argue winning the Golden Trail is bigger than winning most UTMB races. Not UTMB, UTMB is massive, but let's say CCC.
Yeah.
Or maybe not CCC. Well, yeah, CCC, OCC. I'd say winning the Golden Trail is bigger than that. But because you're now the organisation who sponsor you have chosen to focus purely on ultra, you won't get bonuses anywhere near as good as someone who comes 10th in an ultra as you winning a higher profile event that's a shorter distance race. So it's crazy that the whole organisation doesn't allow any more for non-ultra runners to be successful athletes because you can't get your bonuses.
So UTMB have basically got UTMB. They've got their little knockoff ones that go around the. I'm going to use this in the term just to the proper UTMB. I'm not saying the other ones aren't proper, but you know what I'm talking about when I say that. And then they've got the other races which they've basically bought or partnered with around the world, which are now UTMB branded. What are those other races? Those other UTMB races now?
What are they called?
Western States. Is Western States? Was it?
Well, Western States is kind of. It's got this weird status of not being kind of beneath UTMB, but being beneath UTMB. So all the rest are feeders, whereas UTMB, if you win UTMB, you get automatic qualification to Western States and vice versa. So they're trying to, in the short run at least, and this will probably be for 2 or 3 years until they just tuck it under. They're trying to pretend that Western States is equal in footing to UTMB within the organisation, which of course it isn't or never will be. And it's like when Hong Kong was handed back to the Chinese and like, of course we're gonna, this democracy, forever, It's the same thing. Of course, Western States is not going to be on a par with UTMB for much longer. Anyway, sadly, in my eyes.
Analogy.
So yeah, and that I just find it incredible that you can have an organisation where they are they're deciding to narrow. Well, they're deciding to try and basically maybe unintentionally. You now have runners, and we see this with Golden Trail, who are almost feeling pressured to do ultra runs, do ultra races for their career's sake. And you're like, this is crazy. These runners are incredibly good at kind of half marathon trails. So different and so short-sighted. So in essence, if you're a hooker on an une wearer, unless you're running ultras, they don't want you. They're not for you, these shoes.
Okay.
So,
well, at least that's clear. At least that's kind of clear now. Like,
Yeah.
Well, good. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah. There we go. There we go.
Well,
so not even trails. Fuck trails. We don't like trail running. But as long as if the trail's under 26 miles.
Yeah. So, well, I know you had to get off at 4, and I know last time you mentioned about relay races, how I thought it was great that for the big half they were now doing relays of 5K.
Oh yeah.
Even though it meant that someone was going to have to do the first leg, which was basically horrific, running through a small field tunnel and popping out in Millwall, which no one should have to pay money for. But Nicholas Martin, he was saying actually Milton Keynes marathon is a 4-person one, and actually he was saying that he thinks it's great, except if you're a marathon runner, and the trouble is by mile 22 you're then running against someone who's just come on for their new leg, and there's nothing more demoralizing than seeing someone who doesn't look in shape absolutely hammering it past you, which I get that point. That would be pretty brutal if you're already head down feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah, but that's good. No, but surely that's good. Surely, like, what's the quote? You're the sum total of the 5 people you hang around, or something like that in business terms, in terms of mindset. You don't.
Okay.
You get to you're in a marathon. You get to a certain point in a marathon. Everyone's got their head down with and you'll think, oh, I can get away with my head down as well. I'm shuffling along. We're all kind of going to the same place. You need that injection of like new people in there, fresh people, change your thinking, improve your mindset. I sound like Boris now. You know that maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's the thing that pushes people onto their their PB they've always been waiting for.
I mean, it didn't sound like that was the case. He said that there were some of the newer runners on the relay ran past and asked what FYB meant, and he shouted out "fuck you, buddy," and they maybe didn't take it in the light-hearted tone that FYB is normally meant, because Nick was going through a bad patch, shall we say. So
the tone in which you say that and the expression on your face can portray a very, very different meaning, I suppose, couldn't it?
Yes, it can indeed. Absolutely.
Have you?
Well, should we wrap? Oh,
well, there's one more thing. One more thing. I just wanted to know
Yeah.
whether you knew about this or not. And I can't remember whether we've talked about it, but for some reason, and I don't know why, I'm being served with loads of ads on Facebook for events, running events. Don't know why. Normally, I don't know. We spoke.
I like that I said, I don't know why. The suggestion, like, I'm not a runner. Why would they ever advertise running events to me? That's ludicrous.
But I've always thought it's weird. Like the amount we talk about running and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, we write about running and they've got a podcast group, that's basically based on running. And I never get served with running. Like, I don't know whether they've got a special like filter where they go, we'll have anyone, but not Jody. Like not. But I'm served with loads of other things. Like I talked about fucking hair loss, didn't I? About people that are having like hair implants. Bloody hell! I was served with like for weeks of bloody crap like that, like, straight afterwards and all that kind of stuff. But
Did
now
you buy it?
I didn't buy. No, I didn't. But yeah, I'm been served with loads of different things for races, which I think is really interesting. And obviously, I think people are stepping up their game.
Who's spending a lot of money on advertising then? Who's marketing heavily?
Well, I saw one, and that was the really interesting one. You heard of Andalusia Marathon, which they say is the world's fastest marathon because it's all downhill. And it's like set in the Sierra Nevada mountains, and so I was thinking, oh, that's an interesting one.
That would be fun. I mean, that would be cool. It would absolutely trash your quads, and I would imagine it would be slower for most people because if you haven't trained for it, your quads would be trash. But no, I hadn't heard of that. We spoke to when we spoke to who was the Danish running brand who have a beer club, Mikella, yeah. Mikella. When we spoke to Mikella, they put on a marathon, I think, with Stay Sky, where that was all downhill as well, and dramatically downhill, so super fast. If I can get back to fitness, I want to do one. So I'll do that one or Andalusia. And
do you know what? I've just remembered what I should have done when I was in France. I should have bought. One thing I noticed about France is, it's so much alcohol's so much cheaper, isn't it? It's fucking obscene how cheap alcohol is there, and they have a much bigger range of desperados than we have in the UK.
Yeah, they love desperados.
They absolutely love it. They had non-alcohol. Libby hasn't drunk alcohol for 200 days now, and there's one thing that they hate more than a vegan. It's someone that's not drinking. There's no non-alcoholic stuff anywhere.
Even children not drinking there.
Exactly, I know, exactly. That's it. And so
their baby milk comes with alcohol added in, doesn't it?
Well, it
like white wine formula.
Of course. I should have got you a bottle of Beaujolais, so I could have given it to you, so you could taste it, so we could finally think in preparation for the Beaujolais marathon, which I still haven't confirmed yet, but it's still in my mind.
Okay. Well, I want to see more ads as well. The beerathon we've not been advertising yet. I think we're nearly sold out. Probably, I haven't checked. But I think that's a nice bad stuff. Welcome back, Jody. Good to have you back. Do banners. If you've got any feedback on anything we've said, then do message us, letters at badboyrunning.com, or any guests you'd like us to interview, then get in touch. Please do review. It really helps with our credibility. And no one's reviewed in a while. No one can be bothered.
It hasn't been. It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah. So if you haven't reviewed, we're giving you this free content. I mean, you understand why it's free, because it's pretty much total garbage. But please, at least do us the small inconvenience of just writing a review on iTunes or wherever you get your reviews. It really, really helps us, and it will make us smile, and we'll read it out if it's funny. So be funny and be generous, people.
Yeah, if you want to join the conversation, head over to Facebook, type in Bad Boy Running Podcast and join the group. You'll have to answer 3 questions to get in. And we'll share, I think, some of those films that David was talking about and links to those as well in there when this podcast comes out. The
Absolutely.
shop is open again. I didn't realise how much merch we still had in there. But,
all of it.
Has got back. Exactly, we haven't sold anything for weeks and weeks. Lorna's back from Runbrit, which we haven't talked about, actually. Well done, everyone who did.
Congratulations, Ali, Lorna, all these do-badders, yeah.
But yeah, there's merch in there. Head over to that and pick up some lovely red merch, and make sure that you use FYB in the correct sense while wearing that merch. And
absolutely. And we're still looking for a shorts designer, someone who is actually going to design it well rather than just printing a logo at different angles on shorts.
I think we should. Don't we have what? We should have like a Blue Peter style competition, like where people come up with their own designs, because we need the same thing. I'm struggling with the new tee designers and new shirt and vest designers that we're looking at to get a design that I'm particularly happy with. So maybe we just need some inspiration from the do-badders. Like, you can use some crayons. You can use that. Yeah, you're very good. You're very good. So I think maybe a competition of like what a new BBR vest, what a new BBR tee would look like, and what a pair of BBR shorts should look like.
And we'll bury them all in a time capsule for no one to ever see. But Run Show is happening again. We're back for the Run Show, National Running Show, end of Jan. FYB for your free ticket. Use the code FYB. Gary Robbins is coming over from the States. Dean Karnassis is back. We've got some amazing guests. So thanks for listening, guys. Get your tickets, and we will see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.